Okay, so, let's say you miss a day or two here or there.
Exactly. Okay.
Now, Yitzi Liebensberger wanted to be on the phone.
Oh.
Do you want to give him a call? Do you have a phone here?
Sure.
My camera can't do both, as far as I know. Okay, we're going to start on 115B.
115. B.
Today?
Yeah. We're going to start from Elakasha Oila.
Okay.
Okay.
It's all good.
Okay. So the Gemara had a question over here. We had one source that says that before the Mishkan, they did not skin the Oila, and they did not cut it into pieces. And we had another source that says that they did skin it. In the desert, they were skinning the Oila, and they were cutting it into pieces, dissecting it. Gemara says, Frei Tanai, there's two Tanai. The question is, did they have all the details, all the halachas, at the very beginning, when the Torah was given? Or was the details given later? There's two Tanai, it's Machlekes Rabbi Shmuel and Rabbi Akiva. The Tanyas was taught in a Brisa, Rabbi Shmuel Eimer Klalos Nemer B'Sinai, that at the giving of the Torah at Mount Sinai, they only had the general rules of the Torah. Pratis Ba'ilmai, the details were given later at the tent of meeting. The giving of the Torah was 6 months earlier. More. The second Luchas was 6 months earlier. So Rabbi Shmuel says they did not learn it all at the beginning. They didn't learn it all at the beginning. They didn't know that they were supposed to cut it up and skin it. Rabbi Kiva, Imer Klalos Pratis Nemer B'Sinai. Rabbi Kiva says no. They learned it all right at the beginning. And it was reviewed in the tent of meeting. And it was reviewed a third time in the plains of Mayav, which is 40 years later before they went into the land of Israel. You follow what's going on over here? So according to Rabbi Akiva, even originally they had all the details. The background for Shnai Mikra V'Cha Targum is that it was learned twice. And the third time it was given in another language. In Arvis Mayav it says Be'er Hativ in other languages.
But where was it given? So you're saying that the original time when they... No, I don't understand. So you say it was... We know it was in...
The Torah was given at Mount Sinai, right?
Right.
Afterwards they built the tabernacle.
Right.
And then they traveled for 40 years in the desert, and then the plains of Mayav, they crossed over after the plains of Mayav, they crossed over into the land of Israel. So Moshe Rabbeinu taught the Torah 3 times. The entire Torah, with all the details, at Mount Sinai. He repeated it at the tent of meeting when they were there, and then he taught it again before they went into the land of Israel. That's
in
3
Hebrew.
times. Well, it says Be'er Hativ over there. It says explained well, and Rashi tells us, the Gemara tells us B'Shivim Lashon in 70 languages. That's where it was explained in the different languages. I'm just offering that that's a source.
But to whose benefit was that at that point? In other words, he was just telling it to the Yidden, right?
Right.
אבל כל העולם שם, היוונים, הצרפתים,
לא ביחד.
גם הספרדים. אז אני
אפילו הבוכרים?
בוכרים לא, לא היה להם צ'אנס. That is...
Amar Mar. The master said before, we learned before. Hakol kshem lahakriv. Okay. Now, what it meant was that you could bring from any animal. Hakol kshem lahakriv. It's sort of like mei hakol kshem lahakriv. From any animal you were able to bring before the Torah was given. Actually, before the Mishkan. you're able to bring from any animal, which includes, of course, kosher animals. It includes even wild animals, which we didn't do later. Later we only had the domesticated animals. We have deer. So, Minahanimili, from where do we know this? Rav Huna says, Damakra, it says in the pasuk, even Noach mizbech Lashem. Noach built an altar for God, Vikach mikol behema teira, and he took from all the kosher animals, mikol eifatar, from the kosher birds. And behema kamashmai, an animal is as it's understood that chaya b'chlal behema, as a beast is included in the animals, and that we know from other sources. When it says these are the animals you should eat, and later on in the Torah, in Devarim, it says, Ayel tzvi v'yachmar. It says it includes in there wild animals. It has a deer included in there. So obviously, when Noach brought animals, as it also was the wild animals. Okay, then the Brisa says, Zecharim and Akevis Tmimim and Bali Mumin, that before the Mishkan was erected, they were able to bring male, female, and even if it had a blemish, whether it had a blemish or not. Okay, Rashi says that we're supposed to take out the parentheses here, and you skip the parentheses and you read Lafuke Mechusar Ever. However, they weren't allowed to bring an animal that was missing a limb. Deloy. That they weren't allowed to bring. In other words, before the Torah was given, before the Mishkan was built, they were allowed to bring a balmum, but it couldn't have been missing a limb. Balmum means it had a cut, one eye was. It couldn't have been missing.
But it says tmimin.
Balimumin, right?
So okay.
Both, whether it's tmim, whether it's balimumin. Amar Rabbi Lazar says minayin lemechus reivish nesel livnei nayach. From where do we know that an animal that's missing a limb, a ben noyach is not allowed to bring it as a sacrifice? Talmud Laimar mikol achayash mikol basar, from all living, from all flesh. Amra Torah, the Torah says havi behema shechayin rashay evarin shalah. When it says from all flesh, and it says that from all living, it means that all the flesh is living. That means that it's not missing any of its tips of its organs. That means that it has all its fingers and everything, or everything is in place. It's not missing a limb. How do you know it's coming to say that it can't be missing a limb? Maybe it's coming to say that if it would have died within a year, it's a treifa. It has some internal defect. So that's not allowed. How do you know that it's referring specifically to this? Maybe it's more general, or other things that are treifas, that are not missing limbs. It says, Ahu milachayis zera. That's from a pasuk that says that you should save from most of the birds of the heaven, 7, a male and female, to give light, to have seed for the rest of the earth, referring to after the flood. They should have the animals ready. So if it's a treifa, it won't be able to have children. So the fact that it says to survive, the seed should survive, so obviously it's not referring to treifas. That he learns it from there. Gemara asks immediately, nicha, this is good. Laman Amar, according to the one that says treifa ledes, that a treifa cannot give birth. The treifa can't give birth. Then we understand that this is learned from this pasuk. However, there is another opinion that says a treifa can give birth. So how do we exclude a treifa from bringing a treifa as a sacrifice? Amar Kra, the pasuk says, itach, that you'll bring into the teva to live with you. Who's with you? With Noach. B'daimelach. They have to be similar to you. And just like Noach wasn't a treifa, the animals that they bring in couldn't be a treifa. Where it says V'dil Noach gufei treifa hava, but maybe Noach was a treifa. How do you know what was going on? They didn't have X-rays and MRIs. How do you know what was going on? So it says Tamim Ksiv Bey. It says that he was perfect. V'dil Matam B'drachav. Maybe it meant that he was perfect in his actions, in his ways. It says no Tzadik Ksiv. For that we already have a pasuk. It says that he was righteous. So it must be that Tamim means that he doesn't have any blemish. Tzadik Sivbei. V'dilma Tamim b'drachav Tzadik b'maisav. Maybe Tamim is also referring to his ways, and Tzadik is referring to his actions. What's the difference between ways and actions? Ways is like his midas. He's humble and he's patient, and his maisav is the way he behaves, is the things that he does. So the Gemara says, if it would enter your mind to say that Noach himself was a treifa, but shleimim loy ta'ayel, it says you should bring in similar to you. If Noach was a treifa, then that would mean that Hashem is telling him specifically to bring in animals that are treifas. Don't bring in any animal that's complete. If he was a treifa, then why would Hashem say, bring in similar to you? Maybe would have said nothing if it was allowed to bring a treifa. But he wouldn't say specifically similar to you. Must be that Noach wasn't a treifa. Now that we know that from itach, which means like you, or with you, itach means with you, that there were no treifas there. L'chaye zera lamalis. Why does it have to say to give the seed to the seed should survive? I could have thought that itach means with you. That means just to keep you company because he's on the boat and he needs companionship on the boat. For he'll have some pets. Afilu zaken v'afilu saris, but that wouldn't mean even an elderly and even an animal that couldn't have that was castrated, that couldn't have offspring. Kamash Malan, that wasn't the point. The point wasn't to keep Noach company. The point was that they should survive, and he should be able to bring sacrifices afterwards. Okay. Tahirin Havaloi Timeim. The Gemara now says that they were able to bring before the Mishkan was built, to bring any animals, but they needed to be pure. Pure means kosher. The Gemara asks a very good question. Were there kosher animals at that time? There was no Torah yet. What do you mean kosher animals? Doesn't mean kosher. It means that there was no sin was done with it. There's two interpretations here. There's two texts. However, the Marsha, he brings from the Shita Mekubetzes that says Me'oisen Asidun Litar, from those that will in the future become pure. That's the one that we heard in Rashi. Here you see, right, in Chumash Rashi says, here we see that Noach knew the Torah. So the question now is, Minahavi Yada, but how did he know? Kid Rav Chizda. He knows like Rav Chizda taught. Rav Chizda says, Havir and Lifnei Teva, they brought them in front of the ark. Kol Sha Teva Kol Tasei, whichever one that the Teva absorbed, Biyadu Shutar. That was an indication that it was pure. Eina Teva Kol Tasan, if the Teva did not absorb it, it didn't allow it to come in. Biyadu Shein Tmeim, then it's clear that it was impure, whichever the girsa is, either impure because it didn't have Avera or impure because it wouldn't be kosher in the future. Rabbi Vo says, Amar Kra, Pasuk says, V'haboim Zachar Nekeva. And those that came, Haboim, those that came were male and female. And what is Haboim? Those that came. Haboim Me'aleim means they came on their own. So that's how he knew which ones didn't have Avera, or which ones would be in the future pure, is the ones that came on their own. Amar Mar, you can only imagine this if there was no food out there, otherwise everyone would show up. But if just animals just to walk up onto a boat, that would be an indication that these are specifically designated for this boat. Amar Mar, the master said, Va'kol karvu oiles. everyone, all the sacrifices that were brought were oilas. Oilas in shlamim light. What's the difference between an oila and a shlamim? An oila is burnt, and a shlamim is eaten. So it sounds like they didn't bring shlamim. V'haksiv, this is before the tabernacle, before the Mishkan. But it says in the pasuk, "V'yizbechu Zevachim shlamim la'Hashem parim." Where's this pasuk? It says before the giving of the Torah, they sent the lads of the Jewish people and they brought up oilas and they slaughtered sacrifices, peace offerings to Hashem. They were cows. That means that they did bring shlamim. Ela'ema hakol karvu oilos. Rather, what it means is that everyone, that means the Bnei Noach and the Jewish people, they were able to bring oilas. Now there's a parenthesis here, but I don't know. Oh, there's another text here. The other text says, "V'libnei Noach, Shita Mekubetzes." Let's see this. Hey. V'libnei Noach oilas in shlamim lai. For Bnei Noach only oilas. The Jewish people were allowed to bring shlamim. From the time of from the time of the giving of the Torah. When was Vayishlach Esnari B'nai Yisrael? Was that after the giving of the Torah or before the giving of the Torah?
Vayishlach what?
Esnari B'nai. We quoted a verse that says that they brought sacrifices by the giving of the Torah.
Just out of curiosity, but does that, not that there's a proof of this, but in general, if a goy brings a goyim are only allowed to bring oilis in general? Were they only allowed to, like, let's say for a king, like...
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. At this point, we're saying that before the giving of before the tabernacle, they were only allowed to bring oilis. We'll see shortly. Okay. So we're on the first wide line. It says, Tamanda Amar, this goes according to the opinion, Karvu Shlamim B'nei Noach. This is going according to the opinion. We're on 116. Yeah, that's the wrong one. Where's the other English?
It's okay, we will
look on with Mr.
There's 3 articles there. I can't see.
It's okay. That's okay. Let's get it in.
How'd that happen? Is it possible someone else is learning?
No, it's not.
No. Okay. When you go to the Siyam Mashas, the last time there were 90,000 people in the, what was it, in the Giant Stadium. See, there's a lot of people learning.
Wow.
90,000.
It was the largest event ever in the stadium. Why was it the largest event in the stadium? Because they used the field, the seats. They put chairs down through the field.
Wow.
Usually the field is where they play.
What?
Yeah. The helicopters flying over. The security was crazy.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Okay. So, this goes according to the opinion that the Bnei Noach brought shlamim. And I'll pass this over so you can follow this. And you take, let's take this one out. This is the better one. And pass this here.
Thanks.
The Itmar, as it was stated, because we're going to have 2 opinions. Are non-Jews bringing, at that time, are they bringing oilis or shlamim? Or oilis and shlamim, or just oilis? So Rabbi Loz of Rabbi Yossi Bar Chanina. It's a machlekes between Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Yossi bar Chanina. Chad Amar, one of them holds karvu shlamim b'nei Noach, that the b'nei Noach were allowed to bring shlamim, peace offerings. Chad Amar, which means that they were eaten as well. Chad Amar, in one opinion, held like karvu, that did not bring peace offerings; they only brought oilas. My time of the man Amar karvu shlamim b'nei Noach. What's the reason for the one that holds that the b'nei Noach were bringing peace offerings? The ksiv. And it says my time, it really means minayin. I don't know. It means from where do we know? So it says, as it says in the pasuk, "Hevel hevi gam hu mi b'chayres tzaynei michalveim." Hevel brought a sacrifice. What did he bring? He brought sheep, and from their fat. Ezu davar shechal bekarv legam mizbeach vein kula karv legam mizbeach. Why does it mention the fat? It must mean that the fat was being offered on the altar, and the rest of it was being eaten. Or else, if it was totally burnt, it wouldn't have mentioned the fat. So the fact that it mentions the fat means Haviyomer zeh shlamim. It must have been that Hevel brought a shlamim. Hevel wasn't Jewish; he's a Ben Noach. It's a proof that the Ben Noach bring shlamim.
That was the original.
Yeah,
That was it.
pretty
That's
early
their
on.
source, you're saying.
Right.
Now here's the question: who eats those? The shlamim are eaten by the,
The owners.
not by the goyim. A goy would eat a carbon.
In this case, probably yes. Okay. It's machlekes Rabbi Kiva and Rabbi Yossi Glili. If goyim bring shlamim, keep it in the base of Mikdash. Machlekes Tanaim.
Would you say Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Glili?
Rabbi Yossi Glili.
Was Rabbi Akiva more strict?
Yeah. It says that they can only bring an oila. Rabbi Yossi Glili said that they also brought shlamim. Commentators are discussing why we're bringing over here a discussion between Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Yossi bar Chanina, which are later. We should have brought the earlier, more significant Tanaim that argue about this. Anyway. My time at the Mandamar like karvu. What's the reason for the source, for the opinion that says that they did not bring peace offerings, that they only brought burnt offerings? The ksiv, Uri Tzafan Abayi Teiman. This is a pasuk in Shir Hashirim, and it's saying, wake up north and come in the south. And now what does that mean? It says, Tisnari Uma Shemaseh Tzafan. Like, Tisnar, it's wake up, but like shake up the nation that action is on the north. What's that? It's referring to the sacrifices that are brought on the north of the temple, which is the Oila, which is an Oila sacrifice.
Yeah.
Because v'tava yuma shemaseh batzafin ubadarim, but the nation that its animals are performed, its sacrifices are performed on the north and the south. Who's that? The Jewish people. That means, like, get ready, the Jews are coming. So who's it talking to? The people that only have their sacrifices on the north, which is the Goyim. They only have the Bnei Noach. They only have oilas.
Yeah, but I thought Tzafan is always Kachei Kadashim.
Yeah, but are they allowed to bring shlamim, which is kachim kalim? Now we're saying they're only allowed to bring, according to this opinion, only oilas, which is kachei kadashim. It's totally burnt. That's kachei kadashim.
But I just have this challenge with a goy being able to
Kodesh
bring
Kadashim,
Kodesh
right.
Kadashim. I
Right.
can understand maybe Kachim
Right.
Kalim, but why should they be able to bring a Kachim?
Right. I guess the way that you would understand it would be that that the Jew, maybe to make it easier, the Jews their job is to combine the holy and the
mundane.
and the mundane to make it to refine that. So there is such a thing as holiness by the Goyim, and there's the physical, but they don't mix.
They don't have the
them.
opportunity
But
to.
the shlamim, the one that the owners eat, that middle sort of thing, that combination. So that would be the Jewish sacrifice. I am not saying that that's the Kabbalah of this. I'm just making it easier to. You have to ask someone that really knows the stuff. What's the Kabbalah? Okay. Although it sounds correct. Umar nami haksiv mechal beyem. The problem is now that it says that Hevel brought from its fat. So what does he do with this sacrifice that Hevel brought? He says he's not allowed to bring a shlamim. So why does it say Hevel brought from its fat? He says mishmaneim. Not that he brought from its fat. He brought from the fattest ones. That means he brought a sacrifice that was nice and juicy, but not that he brought the fat and he ate the meat. Mishmaneim did too, from the ones that were fat. The question is, Amar nami haksiv uri tzafin. Over there it says that wake up those from the north, and because the Jews are coming. What does it mean the north? That means that the nations their sacrifices are only on the north. It says who bekibitz galus yudiksiv. No, it's not talking about the nations. It's talking about the gathering of the exiles. It's not saying like wake up non-Jews because the Jews are coming. It means wake up Jews because we're gathering together. This is a good question. It says Moshe tells Pare, you're also going to give into our hands Zevachim, which means normally peace offering, and oilus, and burnt offerings, and we're going to perform for Hashem our God. Zevachim lachila, oilus lakrava. Zevachim are eaten, peace offerings are eaten, and burnt offerings are burnt. So, no, that's an answer. I'm sorry. The answer goes Zevachim lachila, oilus lakrava. Zevachim doesn't mean sacrifices over here. Zevachim means shech. The word zevach means to shech. And it means that they were going to eat the Zevachim, not as a sacrifice, just as a regular barbecue, because they're going to go on this trip. It says that Yisrei took an oila, which is a burnt offering, Zevachim, and a peace offering. And Yisrei, when did Yisrei come? Well, let's figure this out. It says, that's talking about after Matan Torah.
There was two opinions, right?
Yeah. This is where the source is. This works out well according to the opinion that says Yisrei Achar Matan Torah Haya, that Yisrei came after Matan Torah. That it would make sense that Yisrei was able to bring peace offerings. You see, we said that the peace offerings were only coming after the Mishkan was built. But then we said that was for the non-Jews. But the Jewish people were allowed to bring shlamim already from the giving of the Torah, because we were considered b'nei Noach before the giving of the Torah. After the giving of the Torah, we're a new status. And even though we didn't have the tabernacle yet, but we were already bringing the peace offerings. But if Yisrei came after Matan Torah, then how was he bringing the with him peace offerings? He wasn't able to do that yet. So
wait. If you're saying Yisrei came
after Matan Torah,
when he was Jewish already.
Is that clear? I'm not sure.
Well, it depends on when he was Megayer.
No, one second. If he comes after Matan Torah, then correct. Then you're correct. If he comes after Matan Torah,
he should have no problem.
Then it's no problem because
he's a Yid.
Because they're allowed. The Jewish people are allowed to do this. However, if he comes before Matan Torah, very good, Yeshakayach. But if he comes Matan Torah, you're sitting in the seat. However, according to the opinion that Yisur came before Matan Torah, what is there to say? Then he wouldn't be allowed to do it, right? The Itmar, as it was stated, Bnei Reb Chia had two sons, and Rabbi Shua ben Levi. They had a discussion. One says that Yisur came before Matan Torah. Another one says Yisur came after Matan Torah. Now, Lamandam Yisur Kedem Matan Torah Haya, Kasavar, the one that says Yisur came before Matan Torah, he holds Shlamim Mekriva B'nei Nayach, that the B'nei Nayach were allowed to bring peace offerings. That's the only way we can resolve this. We said that there was a machlekes before between Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Yossi Bar Chanina. Okay, so that's how it's going to have to match up. The machlekes of if Yisra came before or after Matan Torah is dependent on if Bnei Noach brought Shlamim. Gemara says Kitanai. This is really a discussion amongst Tanaim. It says Vayishma Yisra Kayan Midyan. Yisra, the priest of Midian, heard. Mashmo Shamoba. What news did he hear that he came? B'Niskaya, that he came to convert. So it's a machlekes. Rabbi Yeshua Aimer Melchemes Amalek Shama, that he heard the war of Amalek. How did he get to that? That he heard the war of Amalek? Sheksiv B'Tzidei, because the beginning of Parshas Yisra is right after Parshas B'Shalach. The last verses of B'Shalach was the war with Amalek. Vayachlish Yeshua Amalek, that Yeshua weakened Amalek. It says right there, Besamel Lefichar, and his nation by the sword. That was the war with they held his hands up and they fought with Amalek.
Wait, this is... When is this chronologically? This is...
Right when the Jews left Egypt, on their way to Sinai, they're receiving the Torah, Amalek came and attacked. It says they broke the ice, They, I think the example was the hot water. Everyone says that they cooled it off. Everyone said you can't attack them. These people are too powerful. So that's when Amalek came.
But Yeshua was already at that point. He
wasn't the leader, but he was the I guess like the general or something. And Moshe was there, right, with his hands up. Rabbi Lezer Medoi Yomer Matan Torah Shamoba. Rabbi Lezer Medoi says that he heard Matan Torah. Because when the Torah was given, it was such a loud sound that it was heard from one end of the world to the other. And all the kings of the non-Jews, of the idolaters, were trembling in their chambers. And they said song. That in his chamber entirely, they said song, they said praise. All of them gathered to Bilam. What's this commotion? Maybe there's a flood that's coming. So, okay, now how do you read that? Hashem lababel yashav. Maybe that's what it means, that Hashem will return to the flood. That means he's going to bring another flood. Amar lehem, so Bilam says no. Vayeshav Hashem melech li'olam. He says that he's never going to do that. Kvar nishba HaKadosh Baruch Hu she'einu mevi